Here with me this morning, as he was last night, is the outstanding president and CEO of NJ Transit, Chris Calori. He and his team, many of whom are here with us this morning, along with our entire administration, again, many of them represented this morning, have been working around the clock, frankly, for months to avoid the strike. And now they are continuing to work around the clock to rearrange our state's entire transportation system so it can, to the best of our abilities, meet the needs of New Jerseyans. And I will ask Chris to elaborate on those details in just a few minutes. At this moment, our single highest priority, in addition to making the system work, just as it has been for the past several months, is reaching a fair and affordable deal as soon as humanly possible. A deal that provides NJ Transit's employees, including our locomotive engineers, the wages and benefits they deserve, without being forced to raise costs on riders, commuters, and taxpayers. As I said last night, here in New Jersey, we are proud to be the quintessential organized labor state. As Chris will attest to, 14 of the 15 unions with which NJ Transit engages are in complete harmony. NJ Transit's employees are the backbone of our public transit system. But the workers who depend on NJ Transit are the backbone of our entire economy. They deserve a public transit system that is reliable and affordable, period. So in our efforts to balance fairness on the one hand with affordability on the other, back in March, Chris and the BLETS representatives shook hands on a contract that would pay engineers roughly the same hourly wage, literally give or take 10 cents per hour, as engineers with the Long Island Railroad. In other words, it would have given their members almost exactly what they have asked for, being paid the same wage as engineers at other transit systems in our region. And crucially, that contract would have provided our engineers their hard-earned raises without blowing up NJ Transit's budget. At the time, BLET's General Chairman Thomas Haas called the contract that was agreed upon, and I quote him, fair and fiscally responsible, end of quote. But now, just a couple of months later, a small handful of locomotive engineers have walked off the job and shut down our entire transit system. I think Chris will correct me if I've got the math wrong. We're talking just under 400 engineers in a total workforce of about 12,000. It is frankly a mess of their own making, and it is a slap in the face of every commuter and worker who relies on NJ Transit. But we're not here this morning to point fingers. We are here to demonstrate that our administration remains ready to get NJ Transit back to full speed and to provide the BLETS members their hard-earned raises. Of course, no deal under these circumstances, or probably any other, is ever going to be perfect. The fact is, mass transit systems across the country face a sobering fiscal reality, in part due to threats to federal funding, and those threats and those realities cannot be ignored. I mentioned last night SEPTA across the Delaware River threatening to cut services by 45%, and at the same time increase fares by 20%. That will not ever be the case here in New Jersey. And putting NJ Transit on stable fiscal footing, as we have worked relentlessly to do for the past now 7.5 years, requires tough calls and compromises from all of us, lawmakers, workers, employers, businesses, and especially our commuters and taxpayers. Witness last year's painful corporate transit fee. And I might add, that is in sharp contrast. We dealt within the four walls of New Jersey with a very challenging fiscal reality that, again, is not unique to New Jersey, but we're also not immune, as in contrast to the MTA's answer, which is to rip off New Jersey commuters going into Manhattan. We chose to solve that challenge within our four walls, and we will this one as well. But I, for one, refuse to pass the buck or increase taxes on hard-working New Jerseyans for the same or even more likely reduced service. That's not going to happen. That is untenable. And the truth is, we can deliver a fair contract to every New Jersey Transit employee without abandoning our hardworking neighbors. And let me be clear, this is also about reaching a solution that sets the next administration up for success. The contract being negotiated at this moment is about the long-term future of NJ Transit well after I leave office. Literally a tiny fraction of any deal that we reach will impact our remaining 8 months. And the easy play for Chris and for me is to just cave, fold, and kick this thing down the road. And we're not doing that. So we're holding the line for the next governor and the next administration so they do not inherit a NJ Transit that is on the brink of fiscal collapse, but is in fact in a strong state of health. That is what it means to fix NJ Transit, leaving the agency in better shape in every respect, but especially in fiscal terms, than when we entered office. I was asked last night if I still stuck by my statement, we'll fix NJ Transit if it kills me. And the fact of the matter is, I apologize, facts matter here. That's exactly what we've been doing for the past 7+ years, and especially over the past 5 or 6 months since Chris has been at the helm. The stance that we're taking to get a fair deal for our workers and not blow up NJ Transit's finances is exactly a central tenet in fixing NJ Transit. If you look at our on-time performance, I should have put an asterisk on my commitment, but for the fact of what Amtrak is up to. If you look at on-time performance over the past 16 months, especially on the recent months, on the non-Amtrak lines, it's mid to high 90%. Even on the Amtrak lines, it is regularly in the mid to upper 80%. We mentioned last night, I think the board approved 250 new double-level, two-level rail cars this week. That brings the total to 400. We'll have an entirely new fleet when all of that comes into fruition. We'll have a new locomotive fleet. I think you guys approved the board 12 this week, 12 new locomotives. We've got new train stations in Lyndhurst, Elizabeth. The Portal North Bridge is nearing completion. Many other stations. The facts, I apologize, let's not let the facts get in the way. We've had bumps in the road. Last summer, particularly last June, was unacceptable. This is a bump in the road. Chris will walk you through how we're dealing with it. But the trajectory is undeniable. And again, I wish Amtrak could punch at their weight, and the trajectory would be even more compelling. So back to today, what the people of New Jersey need right now is for the members of the BLET to step up and meet their obligations to the public. Let's end this strike, as we just said to a couple of their good members a few minutes ago. Our doors are open. We are ready to restart negotiations literally this second.